How's it going? Bowman here again with another esports meditation, and today we're going to be talking about in-game leaders, and we're going to cover some concepts and development ideas as far as, if you are an inspiring in-game leader, if you're a team who's looking for an in-game leader or wanting to grow an in-game leader. These are some core concepts that you can put into practice on a daily basis to help you grow and develop. And the esports scene currently, does have a few decent in-game leaders and some outstanding ones as well, but overall the majority of teams lack a solid in-game leader, and I don't think that's for a lack of effort. I don't think that's because people aren't trying to lead, aren't trying to be that in-game leader. I think it's a lack of knowledge and training of actually how to be an actual leader. So we're going to be covering some concepts about that, and so we'll dive right in because this might be a little bit of a longer video. But the first thing is confidence. Now, when I say confidence as being a leader is not arrogance. It is not an egotistical power trip. Being an in-game leader, you are not a drill sergeant. You are not trying to beat people into submission, essentially. You are trying to lead. And so a good quote, to remind yourself of is a proper leader doesn't just know what the right thing to do is, but does the right things constantly. Okay, so being a leader, being an in-game leader is not just something you should be able to turn on when the match starts. Being an in-game leader, being a leader for your team means on and off the battlefield, you are that leader. You are confident, showing that confidence in the direction you do. Even something as say if your coach wants you guys to all eat healthier, or they want you to go to the gym or do something socially to try to just kind of become a more well-rounded individual to help counterbalance the stress and the intensity of the practices and the matches are, as an in-game leader, you should be the first one to just do it. Or if you don't have a coach, just start doing things like that to better take care of yourself. If it's something as low as like cleaning up after yourself, if you live in a gaming house, doing all the little things that inspire confidence in your team. Now, don't hold your players' hands either. You're not there to be their mom. You're there to lead them. So, confidence is key as far as, it's like saying the phrase, I don't know, okay? When someone asks you a question and you're like, oh, saying it like that, oh, I don't know, that question, lacks confidence, completely. Showing confidence in saying the phrase, I don't know, is like, I don't know that, but at the same time, let's find out. Just saying I don't know in a completely different way, in a confident way, helps show to your teammates and the people around you that you're someone that they want to follow. Because the whole point of being an in-game leader is you want your team to follow you unquestionably. So, and it's not necessarily mean you're always right. It's having the confidence that even if you make a wrong decision, that you follow through with it, both in the effort but both in the criticism afterwards. So, say if you in League of Legends you tell your team to engage and they follow and you lose that team fight. Okay? One, you have to own that decision. You can't blame anyone else. You're the one that said engage. You're the one that said go into that fight. So you have to own that decision and have the confidence that what you saw was why you made that decision. And you have to have the confidence in that decision. But you also have to have the confidence to admit that you were wrong in that decision or it didn't work out, and have the confidence to grow from it. Because so you don't want to go into a decision and start blaming other people, because those people aren't leaders. People who do something wrong and blame other people for going wrong, they're not good in-game leaders. And if that's a habit you have, you need to break it immediately, because no one will follow you on your team. No one will respect the decisions, because they're going to be constantly worried that if they follow it and something goes wrong, they're going to get blamed. And that's not what leadership does. Okay? So as far as applying responsibility, because as we know, failure is going to happen in matches. You're going to be in that match against that team that is maybe just a little bit above you in skill, and you barely lose. It's tough fought. Maybe you go into overtime, and it's tough fought, but you barely lose. As a leader, these are the situations where you need to be kind to your teammates, but firm. You don't need, the blame game is not how you handle that type of situation. So And now I want you to understand, emotions are okay. Being angry that your team just lost, perfectly fine. You can be angry, don't be violent, but you can be angry at the fact that your team lost. But your next thought after that initial of, we lost, is look to your team. Look to your team, and you got to be kind and firm in how you handle that situation, because yes, you lost. And as the in-game leader, some of your decisions may have led to that loss. And it may have been just, you got outskilled in certain situations, you got outfragged, you got outplayed, they did a rotation on League of Legends that just, blew your mind and you couldn't plan for. Those things happen, and, in that situation really is a good test of your leadership, to where how you address your team immediately after that loss makes or breaks whether or not you're going to be an in-game leader. And so this is definitely something you can practice. So 1 Minute Manager is a great book. It's about 80 pages. It has a lot of great concepts, but the overall concept of that book is, in any situation, you should be able to take steps to acknowledge what happened, to reaffirm your confidence in the person or people you're dealing with, but also address the issue. And that issue can be positive or negative. So in the case of this loss, be like, guys, that was a tough loss. That was a tough loss. We fought hard. It was, you put up 30 frags, and had 18 deaths. That was outstanding, and we had a lot of good rounds, and we had a lot of rounds where, maybe if we ran our economy better. But guys, we lost, but we need to learn from this. We can grow from this. We know we can beat them. We know if we tweak a few things going into the next tournament, we can beat them. So that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to take this loss, we're going to learn from it, and we're going to grow from it, and we're going to move forward. Saying things like that and practicing saying things like that, and I guarantee you, the first couple times you do it, you're going to stumble through it horribly. But your teammate, even if you stumble through it, is going to appreciate it, and they're going to respect you a little bit more, because you're taking that time to try to acknowledge the loss, cover the results, not necessarily blame any of them, but also focus on growing and learning from it. And taking that stance, even after a big loss, even if they can see the emotion that it's really upsetting you that you lost, but knowing that you're all about the team still, and you're all about growing and, taking lessons from it and winning next thing. That's what I mean by being kind but firm. Is you're going to acknowledge the loss, you're going to acknowledge the struggles that you had, you're going to acknowledge the deficiencies, but you're going to do it in a way that shows that you still have the confidence in your team, you still have the confidence in your players, and you're not blaming them, but you're criticizing them in a very constructful way. So now, next huge tip for being a leader is be an expert. And when I say be an expert, is be an expert in everything that you do. Know that when you're trying to step into that leadership role, and if you're put in that leadership role, people naturally are going to look and watch everything that you do in almost a creepy stalker way, but I guarantee you they're not actively doing it in a creepy stalker way, but they're going to notice everything you do, and everything you do is going to have a little more impact on their opinion on you, and have whether or not they're going to follow you in game. So, do your extra research. Spend that extra hour doing, aim practice, or working on CS, or working on your communication, becoming more efficiently in your call outs, putting in that extra effort to become an expert at what your game is, what you're supposed to be doing, becoming an expert on communication techniques and leadership techniques, taking that time and showing that you are putting in that time to grow yourself. Your people, your teammates are going to start emulating you in little ways like that. And they may not be to the extent that you are, but at the same time, lead by example. Be an expert in your field, lead by example, and the people around you will naturally start following you and having more respect for you, because you're doing the right things. So be decisive, okay? Being decisive does not mean being right, all right? Being decisive means if you're in a clutch moment where you got a 3v4 situation, but the other team, they're all below half health and you're all about 2/3 health, and you have some damage and your cooldowns you're up, and be decisive to where if you feel you can win that match, if everyone plays confidently together, go for it. But be decisive in it. Go into the match and be like, guys, we could take them. Go. And just engage. And just actively engage and lead by example and jump in there. And if you say it with confidence and if you show confidence in your teammates, they're going to follow you. And you know what? You may lose that. You may fail. But if you hesitate, if you are worried, if you're unsure, that opportunity is gone already. So it doesn't matter at that point. So if you're going to do something, be decisive about it. If you're going to, and I want to emphasize that being decisive also matters outside of the match. Be decisive in practice. Be decisive in your life. If your coach wants you guys to go to the gym for a half hour 3 times a week, okay? Get up and go to the gym 3 times a week. Be decisive in that. Don't hesitate. Don't moan and complain about, oh, it's 6 a.m. I don't want to get up, I'm sorry. Oh, it's noon and I don't want to get up. Sorry, I know people in esports, have weird sleep schedules because they stay up late streaming or whatever. But be decisive in those moments on and off the battlefield, so that way it shows that at least you know what you're doing. Or there's a phrase that's thrown around in leadership training: act as if. Act as if you're already that great leader. Act as if you're already confident. So in everything that you do, even if you have no clue what you're doing, if you just have an inkling of how to be confident and you're acting confident, even if on the inside, you're sweating and having IBS because of the nerves and everything like that, just still act confident, and eventually, I promise you, it will get easier. It'll become more natural, and I'm sorry for your IBS. So, but another thing about being a leader is that kind of coincides with being decisive is understanding that people will disagree with you, and know that it's okay. People disagree with me all the time, whether it's my job in real life, and I don't get upset at them for that. I listen to them, and I take what they're saying, and then I basically form my next statement based on that. So, basically, you're going to have people disagree with you, but you also have to set boundaries on when they're allowed to disagree with you. In the game, they cannot disagree with you. You're the in-game leader. You're deciding the strategy. You're deciding the action of what your team's going to do, and they need to know that in that moment in the game, they need to follow you. But they also need to know that if they don't agree with it, there's a channel and there's an opportunity outside of the game that they can address that with you in a confident, in a calm manner, so that way then you guys can grow. As long as you set those proper boundaries, be like, hey, in the game, even if we lose, I'll take onus if we lose. I'll take the blame for that. But we're gonna follow the game plan, where we're gonna go forward and we're gonna do it as hard as we can. After the game, if you have something that you want to talk about that you don't think was a good decision on my part, let me know. Let me know if that was a bad thing, and we'll go over it. We'll cover it. We'll talk about it. We'll dive into it, and we'll cover it, and we'll see, if you have a better idea, and if you do, we'll implement it. We'll make it work. So understand that people are going to disagree with you, and you got to be willing to accept that fact. People are going to. You're going to have coaches. You're going to have fans. Don't listen to fans half the time, but you're going to have fans that are going to try to tell you how to do something, and some of them may have good ideas. Some of them will, but be willing to understand that people are going to disagree with you. Now, another kind of thing that goes along with being an expert and being decisive is have a vision. Okay, you're the in-game leader, so if you want to be a team that's all about team fighting in League of Legends, be all about team fighting. Have your vision focused around to where we're going to pick champions, we're going to form compositions that are all going to help us win team fights. If you want to be all about split pushing, be about split pushing. If you want to be all about turret control and taking down turrets, and building compositions to do that, have a vision of where you want to take your team, and get those people actively engaged in it, okay? And if you're already doing all these other things like being confident, and being decisive and being an expert and putting in practice in every aspect of your life, of being a leader, your teammates are going to naturally start following you anyway, and they're going to actually start agreeing with you, and they're going to understand that, your guys are growing as a team, and that way your decisions are the decisions your team's going to follow. And they may not be right, and you may discuss that after the match, but in the moment, they're going to have confidence in you as well. So have a vision, not just for yourself, but also for your teammates as well. Have a vision that your entry fragger is going to become the best entry fragger, and you're going to practice with them, and you're going to become an expert at being an entry fragger, so you can help push him to be an better entry fragger. Little things like that, to have a vision for yourself and your teammates matter. Mentor people. One of the biggest things to grow as a leader is to teach. Okay, so if you say you have a stream, all right, and I would set aside maybe 1 or 2 days out of that stream where you not only play with some of your fans, but you teach them. Like in Counter-Strike, it's very easy to go into a dedicated server and say, hey, we're going to teach you 3 core strategies on Mirage today. And we're going to do a couple different sessions where we get about 30 people, and we're going to rotate them in, so that way we teach how to peek these certain angles, how to throw these smokes, how to do this. And you don't even have to bring people in the server, but like have that moment where you're teaching people, because by teaching people, you're going to reinforce what you already know, and it's going to help build your confidence, especially with your teammates, when you're teaching them the same things, or when you're going over the same things, or when you're talking about certain things. So taking time to teach people, and with Twitch and streaming and YouTube, there's great opportunities to take time to put together little videos, or in your streaming to take time to teach certain things to your fans, to your people watching, and that will in turn help you when you're leading your team, because you're going to have more confidence in what you're talking about. You're going to have more confidence on what you know, and so mentoring people is always a great way to develop as a leader. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is the negative side of being a leader. There are going to be repercussions. There are going to be bad things that happen to you as a leader, as an in-game leader, and understanding how to recover from that and how to react to that and how to handle those situations is important. So you may run into that star player on your team who, because in a clutch situation, in like a 2v1, you died first and then he died. He may rage and blame you for that fact, even though he died as well, and you're aware of that fact. He may, get upset, and it's not because he doesn't like you, but in that moment, his emotions and his energy and his adrenaline is pumping, and he's pissed and upset that they lost that 2v1 situation, and he's naturally going to try to blame someone else because he's the star player. Like, sometimes they get that arrogance, they get that ego, egotistical. So knowing that you're going to have to deal with that, you should prepare and learn ways to deal with that in a positive way. And it's not turning the blame back on him, because you're still, in all honesty, in that 2v1 situation, if you both died, well, you both died, so you lost. So that's still on both of you, let alone the whole round when it was 5v5, everyone else died on your team as well to lose that round. So knowing that, embracing those repercussions when someone gets upset with you and be like, hey, yeah, you know what, I missed my shot, I didn't peek that right angle, my call out was bad, yeah, you're right, we'll work on that, and next time, I'll let you lead into that 2v1 situation so you can take that duel and get that guy the first time. So you're almost like stroking his ego a little bit, but at the same time taking a little bit of the blame for that situation. So that way you're stroking his ego in the sense of that you're not saying it's his fault, and you're giving him a challenge to prove his skill, to prove his worth the next time that situation happens. So that's just one small tip as far as redirecting someone who's very egotistical and their rage, that they're having in the moment of a defeat or a loss or something like that. But learning little techniques and communication techniques like that to help plan for those repercussions, because if you're on a team, you know who those people are, you know what the negative things are flying at you. Plan for them, and practice it. Practice doing little things in your practices, and not just in games. So, I guess I've rambled on enough. To kind of summarize this whole thing of being a leader is about overall being confident and being an expert in your field and planning for everything and practicing it. It's not just a switch you can turn on in once you get into the actual match. It's something you got to practice on every single day of your life, in every aspect of your life. And it is something you can learn and grow and develop. And there's lots of great materials and seminars on there on how to grow and develop and become a leader. This is just kind of a guide path. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. Feel free to add in the comments. We can add to the discussion of growing and talking about what it means to be a good in-game leader, because it's more than just knowing the strategy. It's about doing the right things and doing the right things for your team. So like, favorite, share this as you see fit. Feel free to add to the discussion and shoot me messages if you have any questions or you want any references to some good leadership materials. But other than that, you guys all have a great day.